Vervipunk.
I just finished watching Minna Koare, or Best Wishes to All, a Japanese horror film. I enjoyed it, but I thought it wasn't that scary. I'm a fan of the genre, but I don't really find it frightening anymore.
But this was not always the case.
The year is 2011. It's been a week since I've been gifted my brand new PlayStation 2. I'm excited because it's that day of the month, the day I get to add a few new games to my collection. Back then, I didn't really have access to the internet or even a phone, so I didn't really know what the cool kids were playing. So the only way I could get them was to go to the shady looking store and asking the guy at the counter for recommendations based on what I already played. This man knew ball, I'm telling you, he's the reason I got into these genres I never would have tried otherwise. And he put me onto so much peak that I never would have played otherwise. So there I was, excited to play these new games. I pick one, indecisive at first, but I go for the one with the coolest cover art. This was a mistake, because it turned out to be the first horror game I would ever play. And it scared the ever-living shit out of me. Mind you, this was at a time when I was too scared to watch anything remotely spooky. I was scared of Scary Movie 3's parody of The Ring. I was scared of a fucking parody, so imagine the pure terror that I would feel loading up this game. I finished the tutorial, and then when the first mission began, a cutscene in an asylum played, and that was it. I turned off the TV, ran to my bed, and did not touch the console for the next 3 days. Well, that was it until last week when I was reading about the new Evil Dead film coming out. And I thought about how there was not really as many Evil Dead games. And that's when I remembered this great memory. Evil Dead already had a couple of games before this. THQ tried a Resident Evil style one that kind of sucked, called Hail to the King.
Well, are we ready to take a look?
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect! Oh, God. Got anything smaller?
All you need is a chainsaw for an arm and a shotgun to be just like Bruce Campbell in Evil Dead. Hail to the King.
Hey, isn't that supposed to be a chainsaw?
You want a piece of this? Yeah, I didn't...
Rated M for mature.
Come on, you freak!
Help!
Come on, take it like a man.
Chasing me!
Then they did A Fistful of Boomstick, which was kind of open world. It was better, but it didn't really pop, for me at least. Regeneration was them basically saying, alright, what if we just make this a straight up action game? The story takes place in an alternate reality where the third film in the series, Army of Darkness, never took place. Where instead of getting teleported to the past, Ash gets committed in an asylum for the criminally insane. Because, you know, from the outside, it really does look like he murdered a cabin full of people with a chainsaw. At the asylum, we have Ash's doctor, Dr. Reinhardt, who somehow has gotten his hands on the Necronomicon Ex Mortis and Professor Nobi's diary. He wants to use it to do some real evil shit or become insanely powerful, I suppose, instead of, you know, not doing that. So the game opens with Ash getting a visit from his lawyer, Sally Bowline, who believes in his story. We get a few lines that are really indicative of when this game came out.
You know, I bet you'd be some kind of a knockout if you traded in the granny wear for thigh-high stockings and a bra that pushed up your yams.
And then in classic Evil Dead fashion, it all goes to shit when Dr. Reinhardt reads the Necronomicon and unleashes the Deadites onto the asylum and the world. We get to know all this via Professor Nobi's spirits, and Ash needs to close all the portals to save the world. Simple enough. We start off with a handgun, then we get this badass chainsaw, and finally we get his beautiful boomstick.
This is my boomstick!
Eventually, we get a harpoon, a flamethrower, a grenade launcher, and all of these have unlimited ammo, which just trivializes the game in my opinion. And a fun thing that this game has is actually a character. His name is Sam.
Hey! Bad first impression!
He's an unkillable deadite who was experimented on by Dr. Reinhardt, and let me tell you, this man goes through so much abuse in this game, and he is my favorite part of the game, honestly. And I think he's a great addition to the Evil Dead franchise, and I wish he was in some of the live action projects that they have. I mean, the first time we meet this man, we need to learn to kick him, and then we proceed to do so into a chimney which blows it up. Together you travel across cemeteries, mines, swamps, deadite-infested town, and finally an alternate dimension, fighting a few bosses along the way. We got Sparky, this deadite queen, a big miner, a fish monster, and Dr. Reinhardt himself. The fights are honestly really boring, but it's whatever. Apparently the creators of the game, Cranky Pants Games, who are a subset of THQ Nordic, they were inspired by the Devil May Cry series and wanted to see if they could make their own version of it, but with the Evil Dead IP.
This party's getting crazy. Let's rock.
At the same time, they were also building a new engine with limited resources. So you get this Frankenstein of a game where the bones, the foundation and the bones are there, but it never really comes together cohesively. What that resulted in is this weird and janky but honestly charming game. I thought the combat was fine. Combos exist, but you can just cheese the entire game with like 2 combos. It's like 2 hits with a chainsaw, a shotgun blast, or a harpoon and a shotgun blast. This just completely trivializes the game and makes it a chore to get through it, because it's fun to juggle enemies. Sure, you can do that, but you don't really get any points to doing it. There's no style system. I don't really see why you would want to do that. You can finish enemies off with a special finisher that makes Ash kill them in a flashy ways, but most of the time, it just ends with him firing the boomstick. You can also kick Sam into enemies and bosses. For normal deadites, he pops their heads clean off. For bosses, he distracts them so you can get some damage in. There are these really annoying escort missions that are easily the worst part of the game. You need to get 3 souls to this big monster to progress, which means following his tendrils to these gross looking egg things and having Sam absorb the soul. Then you have to escort him back and kick him onto the monster. The problem is that Sam is really fragile and dies super quickly, which means you end up redoing these sections over and over again from the start. This happens not once, not twice, but 4 times in the game for some reason. The monster does look cool though, and I like that it follows you as you move around. So there was apparently supposed to be a part with Ash driving in his car, but they couldn't implement it because of the constraints of the engine they were using. So they had to scrap that entirely, which I think could have helped the game because it just feels like monotonous, like you're playing the same level with just a different backdrop. I honestly think I would have enjoyed this game a lot more if I had played it the first time I picked it up as a kid, but now I don't really know how I feel. I wanted more variety in the gameplay, more ways to kill a deadite, a real combo system, and weapons with actual ammo to break things up and make it less repetitive. And I'm sure maybe it's a product of its time and the fact that it was competing with these big series at the same time. The music slaps though, especially Sam's theme. It's like bacteria music almost. Overall, it's a fine game that really suffers when you're not looking at it through nostalgia-tinted glasses. It has charm, it has the Evil Dead humor that fans have come to love. Bruce Campbell and Ted Raimi absolutely carry it with their voice acting.
Oh, you think I'm your daddy?
Unfortunately, the game didn't really sell that well either. THQ did not market it great, and it launched kind of quietly and then just disappeared. Which sucks, because even with all its flaws, it's probably the best Evil Dead game they put out, at least the one that I've played. This just makes me wish we had a proper Evil Dead game, something closer to Resident Evil. Of course, I do have the Evil Dead the game that was delisted, but servers still work and people are still playing it, so maybe I'll check that out. Well, until next time, goodbye.